Cool. So, welcome to the Catch Up Podcast, number 54, the number one place to feed your curiosity. Everyone has their own point of view and has their own story. I'm here to share these stories and show you it's possible for everyone to achieve greatness. Whether you're just graduating from high school or you're in mid 30s trying to figure things out. I'm your host, Brian Sumo Sumardi, aka the Swole Banker. In this episode, I talked to AJ Ketherpal, real estate broker with a background in media.
7,000 questions for you.
Whoa.
No, I'm just kidding. So, I heard somewhere that you closed like 195 deals in a year.
It's very specific. I thought it was 200, but sure, yeah.
That's amazing.
In 2021.
Yeah, how did you feel about that?
I didn't know any better. It was my first full year.
Okay. With that experience, given that you closed that many deals,
Yeah.
what would you do? What do you think you did great, or what do you think that you can improve yourself from?
Selecting my team.
Okay.
Definitely with the company that I was with, I didn't necessarily choose my processors
Okay.
or my loan partners.
Okay.
So as soon as it was more about me just doing the sale and then
Gotcha.
passing it to my processing team
Okay.
and then just getting updates
Getting
as
just the
necessary.
lead done,
Yeah.
lead closed.
So it was very like industrious in the
Okay.
fact that like, all right, you do the sales, you do collect documents, you send it to the underwriter, you communicate with the underwriter. And because it was so segmented, it made it very difficult for me to find out who to speak to
Okay.
get updates at the same time.
So when you say it was segmented, in which way? Communication or information being relayed back to you?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah. So during that time, we were taking at least 60 days to close like a refi.
Most refis do close 60 days. I mean, you can do 30 days, but
No, like,
most of the
my current company, we're doing things in like 15.
15.
Yeah.
That's pretty
15
good.
and 21. Yeah.
Okay. That's
So like
pretty
it's a different ball game now.
good. Nice.
But that would be like my only just situation that would change. Now I'm learning more about the business and the ins and
Okay.
outs type of thing.
Okay. All right. That's pretty good. Closing 195 deals in 1 year. That I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, people who have really large teams,
Yeah.
they sometimes struggle to close that many deals. So,
I can believe it.
and if you're a real estate agent rather than in lending, it's even more difficult to do that
Right.
because there's so many nuts and bolts involved that many times if you don't have a perfect team or a team that's dedicated on doing certain tasks, people fail.
Yeah. I mean, when rates are below 3%, everyone is just rushing to get a deal. You know what I mean?
Anybody just wants to make sure that the deal gets done.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or yeah, we were at that time like I'm pretty sure most real estate agents, brokers, lending companies weren't ready for what was happening.
Correct.
So we were kind of just running to the fire.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of related to the Marine Corps. It's like you run into the sound of danger
Yeah.
and you just handle business.
Correct.
So, I mean, now what I know, yes, sure, you could build a better team, better more communication, like a back end formula system. But I think that time is done now.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't think we're going to have that much of a rush unless that happens again.
Yeah, I don't see it going back down anytime soon.
Not that close.
Yeah, and especially we talk about this even I think last time is that people they have gone away from the position of a rush to more of a relaxed. That is this a necessity for them or not?
Right.
Or they're okay with their current situation.
100%.
So,
yeah, I mean, so like my recommendation to anyone who has a below 3% interest rate, you keep that house forever and you don't pay it off. Because at this current rate, you're beating inflation, so you're actually making money if you think of the underlying
absolutely
worth of money.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, people who have I think in this way is that any home that people have, you I'm sure you have heard of this term, inflation-induced debt destruction.
Actually, I haven't.
Okay,
Tell me.
so um, this concept was brought into place. So as inflation is occurring, right? So for example, you buy a house for $100,000.
Okay.
Let's say you get a loan on it you'd get 100% loan, right?
Okay.
So inflation is at 3%.
Okay.
Let's say, I know right now it's crazy,
Yeah.
but let's say it's at 3%.
Uh-huh.
So after 1 year, the house, let's say it's worth now 103,000.
Okay.
And let's say you still had a, you know, a loan that you got, let's say, call it 10% interest rate, for example.
Okay.
I know it's out there, but 10% interest rate, and it's an interest only loan. Okay?
Okay.
Just hear me out.
Sure.
So your principal is not going down. You're
Right.
still at 100% loan.
Yeah.
So 100,000, but the value of that house is 103,000 right now.
Okay.
Okay? And as time goes by, let's say it's 10 years down the road, your property might be worth 120,000, but your debt is still at 100,000.
Okay.
So it's called inflation-induced debt destruction. So your debt is, even though it's not getting reduced,
Mhm.
but it's getting destroyed because of inflation.
How does that work?
So in
In terms of
turn,
the
it's
loan?
called equity.
Right.
The easier term is called equity.
Okay.
So you're becoming rich by equity.
But then you're
But
paying
this is not a general. Nobody who has common sense gets a interest-only loan, and it's really hard to get a 100% loan
right.
unless you are a VA
USDA.
or USDA loan, or you get an MMP program. Even with that, you have
still have to pay it back.
Yep. So
later.
there's no real 100% loan.
Right.
Even with the VA loan, actually, it becomes more than a 100% loan, because depending on what you have to buy down and things like that.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Possible.
with all those things in mind, if you take a look at it, general public buys a house, let's say, at 5% down.
Mm.
So if it's 5% down on a $100,000 home, it's $95,000 mortgage. Now
Right.
they do get a principal and interest mortgage or a loan,
Mhm.
so it's getting paid off. So as it's getting paid off, inflation is increasing the value of your home,
Right.
and you're paying down your mortgage. Now you've got
Getting more equity.
exactly.
Okay,
So
I see what you're saying.
the concept is that if, let's say, somebody does not follow the traditional rules of a mortgage
Uh-huh.
and breaks the pattern of an interest-only loan, I know a friend of mine who did that. So
Okay.
against my advice, but no matter what is happening over the course of time, that house is going to be worth more than what you bought it for.
Right.
And
His end game is to sell the home.
Endgame is not, well, if you want to, sure.
Yeah. I'm trying to think
But
like
your debt is getting reduced. That's the point of it, is because of inflation, your debt is getting destroyed. That it's like,
your debt's not getting reduced. It's still staying at
It's still-
100,000.
well, you're paying down your mortgage too.
You said it's interest only.
General public is paying down their mortgage.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
So-
I said your interest only earlier.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you think of it as an interest only loan, your debt is basically getting reduced because of inflation.
Right. I'm just saying
If you sell the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you sell the house.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of like I mean, I was thinking about that when I had a post today about learning old school methodology of finance.
Mhm.
It was basically you get a W-2 job, you get a W-2 job by getting a degree, and then you
Go to college.
you get your college, but then afterwards you save up money
Mhm.
and you just eliminate all debt. And that's the only way. I think that's the old school
That's the goal.
mentality.
That's the goal for
Right.
everyone, is that you go to school, get a job, make money, save money, buy a house, and in that time, if you can't pay down your mortgage and all your debt, you're financially independent or stable.
Right.
But nowadays, everybody wants to make sure that they're actually financially secure,
Right.
not necessarily financially independent.
Right, and that's why I brought up the new methodology of if you start a business, you can expense your expenses
Absolutely.
through the business. And then at that point, you build a little bit more financial literacy. And at that point, you can learn how to have cash flowing assets.
Correct.
So when you have a house that you have as a rental and you can rent it for more than your mortgage plus additional like utilities, then you have positive cash flow. Then you
Correct.
use that extra money to invest. And at that point, you don't have any worries because now you have an additional security in your back pocket.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So I think cash flow is like the king right now for security. Like I'm very financially driven, like financially security driven, where if I feel like if I'm not making enough, then I get into like anxiety and freak out. I'm like, oh, I gotta do my next thing. Like I'll do Uber, DoorDash, whatever it takes just to get me that little bit more. Like I need a cushion. Think of it like a mortgage. Like your escrow holds
Yep.
2 months worth of your taxes and
Tax
insurance.
Okay.
I need an escrow for my personal life.
That's a really good idea, though. You
Yeah,
know, that everyone should have an escrow for
their
their
expenses.
expenses, their day-to-day, monthly, basic necessity expenses. That if, let's say, something happens that you cannot operate without
Yo.
that nest egg or that cushion, I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, and for me personally, when I think of reserves,
Mhm.
I need at least 3 months of my rent or mortgage. So I have 3 months worth of my mortgage for my rental property and 3 months of my current rent because I currently
That's a great
rent my
idea.
primary residence. And then I know all my like subscriptions or like
Too many
regular.
subscriptions.
Well, I mean subscriptions in terms of like insurance, like car insurance,
Yeah, I
so
mean,
reoccurring expenses.
correct. Reoccurring bills. You
3 months
know.
of that. So 3 months, 3 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
And the more properties you have, the more cushion you need, and
If
that's my
if
goal.
I think of it as my cushion, it's almost a down payment on
Another house.
easy.
Yeah.
You know,
But that cushion's like saves you, it gives you
Yeah.
peace of mind. At
absolutely.
least for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
that's
absolutely. I
major
think
key.
that's a really good thing to have. Is that understand that you need a cushion to
Yeah.
make sure.
Peace of mind.
Yeah, peace of mind.
100%.
You can sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I normally go to bed pretty easily,
That's good.
except when I'm just thinking about me personally. I have this thing where I just need to create something. That's my creative part of me.
I think we kind of are in the same type of situation
Yeah.
because I'm the same way. Um, that I want to do certain things differently,
Yeah.
and not always you can find the right person who's able to do those things for you.
Right.
And if I find people who can do it, either they don't want to follow the creative guidelines that I have,
Right.
and the ones that I find who want to do it, they are not. Um, it's not. I can give them the knowledge,
Right.
but they're not physically capable of doing it.
Interesting.
Yeah, because there's lots of kids out there today
Yeah.
that want to create stuff, but if I give them the cameras that I have,
Blueprint.
well, no, I mean it's more like the physical work that they
Oh.
have to do to create something.
Okay.
They get tired in like 15 minutes.
They don't have
The physical capability to do stuff. They have the mental capability to do things,
interesting.
but their physical capability takes over their mental capability, and they're like, I'm tired, can't do this.
Interesting.
And so, for example, any of these cameras, take it,
Yeah.
they can go on a gimbal,
Right.
right? And if I would like to walk and talk, and them holding the gimbal,
Yeah.
and they're walking backwards,
Right.
I can walk like that for 30 minutes, no problem,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But if I give it to somebody else, they will either fall,
Hmm.
they will, after like 5 minutes, they'll be like, hold on, I gotta put this down.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think that comes into like reps. I think of it like working out. And like for me, I think in the military, there's a lot of guys, like especially in the military, who've been in the military
Yeah.
for 10, 20 plus years, and we expect the new guys to just like, hey, put on 40 pounds, 60 pounds, 80 pounds on your back, and let's go 10 miles.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work that way. You
That's
need
true.
you need the reps. So
Yep.
like I remember going through boot camp or like ITB, advanced infantry training. We started like 5 miles with maybe 20 pounds on our backs,
Okay.
and then we graduated to 10 miles, 40 pounds, then 6 miles, 60, and then 80 for 20. But it took us, I think that was in the span of 5 months
Okay.
for my body to regulate and get accustomed to that kind of punishment. Or it's that's why I think it's punishment, but it's training really.
Yeah, absolutely right. No, it's and they don't want to put that work in because they're like, I can do the same thing from my phone.
What do you mean?
If I'll tell them
Oh, instead of a gimbal?
instead of a gimbal,
Okay.
and I'm like, yes, but you cannot get that same look and feel
Right.
that you get from a camera, an actual DSLR or a film camera.
Right.
Yeah, nowadays cell phones have become really, really good,
Right.
but I think that software component,
Mhm.
when if you take away from and you put the mechanical component in there,
Yeah.
the whole feel is so much different.
I was talking to someone last night. I was filming a comedy show last night,
Mhm.
and we were just talking about. I had this. He's a tech guy, and he's
Okay.
like really like an SEO marketer. And he's like, "Yeah, man, I think iPhones are getting close to that same camera you have." I'm like, I don't think so. You can get close, and people like organic. People don't like too much editing when it comes to
Correct.
production sometimes, unless it's like an actual movie. Then you want the bells and
Oh,
whistles.
absolutely.
But I had to differ with him. It's like there's no way you can produce as much like software you have in an iPhone into an actual camera with lens. I think it's to me glass. It took me a while to really appreciate glass, high quality lenses.
They say that, let's say the iPhone or even the Samsung, right?
Sure.
They have the sapphire lens or whatever that thing is that they cut the lens out of for
Okay.
the iPhones, right?
Okay.
That's what they say they do.
And Sony
They,
actually. Sony does the
Mhm.
lenses for iPhones.
Yep. So let's say any of these lenses that we have, they use, of course, the Apple also uses really precise measurements and stuff like that to get the accurate and make sure every single lens is 100% accurate, right? Um, but overall, if you look and see how a camera is zooming in and out, right?
Yeah.
It focuses from person to person. I'm not sure if you have seen in movies, let's say there's a person sitting in a car driving, and then there's a camera on one side, and it kind of focuses on, one person here, and then as soon as the other person starts talking, it just goes right onto the other person.
Different zoom. Who you are attracts who you are. I think that's
Yes,
the biggest thing.
absolutely.
And I think that's where how we were attracted to each other. I just really liked your creativeness and kind of how you think outside the box, and I think that's how we work well together.
I think so.
Yeah, and I want to get deeper into that, and I want to like your experiences because I could say even just last night I
Mhm.
hosted a comedy show. One of the comedians is actually a really, I think he said he's like number 2 financial advisor in the area, in the DMV area.
What?
I was shocked.
What's his name? Or her name?
It's his real name is Jesse Rivas
Oh,
from
okay.
Prudential.
Okay.
He goes by Jay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jesse Rivas.
Mhm.
I have heard of his name somewhere. I
See,
don't
there you
know
go.
where, but
Financial advisor.
wow.
Yeah, and apparently he works with a lot of former military.
Okay.
And
That's amazing.
as soon as his set was over, I was like, we just connected and started chatting.
Yeah.
And we started learning more about each other. I was like, I've been trying to dig. Like, I'm a former Marine, and I have a hard time getting connected to my military like area community
Okay.
just to work with them.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, man, I just helped one person, and then
That's
word of mouth blew up.
Yes, that's exactly how it works. Military works that way. I So my brother-in-law,
Uh-huh.
he is ex-Air Force.
Okay.
So even when he was in the Air Force, one of his buddies was moving down to Richmond.
Okay.
I don't go there. I don't work there,
Okay.
right? So he while all this stuff was going on, he was about to rent a place, and he put the money. He sent the money by Zelle for deposit
For the house?
for no, not the
EMD?
house for a rental,
Okay.
and the agent, or I believe it was the agent, she said didn't. She was very vague about stuff. Yes, we'll do this, we'll do that. The house was not in the best shape,
Okay.
and nothing. She was like, "Oh, we don't need to put that in the contract.
Okay.
That what will be done." And so when he told me about those things, I was like, "Look, this is a red flag.
Yeah.
When things are not put into a contract, then or an agreement, then it
Void.
means that
Void.
it,
Null and
well,
void.
it actually says that the agreement itself says that
Right.
any verbal agreements made are null and void.
Yeah.
So and most agreements say that.
Right.
So he was like, "Hey, can you look at the agreement and see what can be done?" And I said, "Sure, I'll be more than happy to help you." So I figured out everything, and he's like, he was kind of scared and didn't know what to do. And he was like, "Hey, can you make a call for me?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Sure, even though I don't represent you, but if you just send me an email saying that, hey, can you represent me uh, in this transaction?"
Yeah.
And
Consultant.
just consult.
Yeah.
I didn't care about money. It was more about helping him out
Right.
because he's my brother-in-law's friend,
Right.
a really good friend.
Yeah.
So I just called the agent and I was like, "Hey, look, I am representing so and so," and he mentioned that things are not put in an agreement that he wants to happen,
Mhm.
and you are not accepting them. So tomorrow is his occupancy date, and they visited the property today, and this is still not done. So based on what he has told me, and from the terms and conditions of the contract,
Mhm.
it says that certain things will be delivered in a certain manner. He would like to cancel the agreement, and we're going to send you a letter based on that our discussion, and we expect that you to return the deposit,
Yeah.
in a timely manner.
Okay.
And
Just reside.
she's like, "Are you an attorney?" And I said, "No, I am a representative
Right.
of him." So, like, "Oh, only attorneys can represent." I said, "No, that is incorrect. If a person declares somebody else as proxy, they can represent them."
Right.
So, like, "I need to see that in writing." I said, "Not a problem," and I sent it to her.
Yeah.
And after 2 days going back and forth and telling her that, this is legally enforceable, that we can actually take you to court for up to 3 times the deposit of, because one, he hasn't actually occupied the property.
Yeah.
Two, we're declaring the contract null and void.
Mm-hmm.
She refunded the money, and he was really happy because he was not thinking that he's going to get that $1,900 back.
Yeah.
$1,900 is still a good chunk of money.
Right.
So when he came to DC about 6-7 months ago,
Okay.
and he met up with me. He was like, "Oh, let me pay you," and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, "Look, this was like just a couple of hours of work, and you're a friend."
Yeah.
So since then till now, he has referred me like 3 or 4 people.
Nice.
So yeah, like you
loyalty.
Yep.
There's loyalty in the Marine Corps.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's the entire military community. They're loyal to each other.
Yeah.
I know this another real estate agent. He's with EXP.
Okay.
And he is, I believe he's in the Air Force. He's just retiring.
Okay.
And his entire business is from the service.
Yeah.
And he has not had a single client outside of it.
I believe it.
So, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So you can tell, it tells you that he can sustain himself just because of the referrals from the military community.
I love when business owners or just entrepreneurs really dive deep into niches, and I just say that too because I have another realtor friend, she really focuses on the dance community.
Wow.
She did ballroom dancing and she learned salsa, bachata, that kind
Okay.
of stuff. So Latin dance, so like club dance as well. And majority of her clientele, all dancers.
Wow.
If you dig deep, I think honestly, I think that it goes to show too, kind of like what you were saying earlier about these younger generation kids, how they don't want to put in the work. If you put in the work into a certain skill and you develop a community within that skill,
Hmm.
you can market like crazy if you learn how to sell
Absolutely.
afterwards.
Absolutely. One of the biggest things, and uh, that they don't understand is communication.
Yes.
And the millennials and the Gen Z, they're so glued into their devices
Yeah.
that they are living just in the moment,
Yeah.
but not before or after. What did they do before? They don't. I don't want to say that they don't learn from it, but they don't see it
Hmm.
and then say, hey, you know what? This is something that I did before,
Yeah.
which worked,
Yeah.
and let me take that, apply it now, so that my future will become
Better.
amazing.
Yeah.
Right? So, we were actually received an email from. I get a whole bunch of emails from like VA companies, virtual assistants, and
Okay.
you know don't become a broke agent and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So um, it actually outlined something which I was so happy to see because not many people think of it that way, right?
Right.
Um, 3 habits of a broke agent.
What's that?
Number one, they don't have a database.
Okay. Yep.
All right. No, that's the number one.
CRM.
Number two, they procrastinate and never follow up.
Oh, it's bad. Bad
Right.
sales
And,
practice.
yep. And number three is they don't pick up their phone.
Yes.
And believe it or not, I have people who I work with, my clients,
Hmm.
and I believe I'm going to go back to Simon Sinek.
Okay.
Okay, Simon Sinek said something, and he was like, "These guys are so glued into their phones. You call a client, millennial, you call them, doesn't pick up the phone, right?
Hmm.
And then you he texts back, 'What's up?'
Yeah.
Yet they're not talking to anybody on the phone. They'll text back. They won't respond to the call. You call again, they'll text back,
Oh,
right?
afraid to
Yet,
speak.
yeah, no, they won't pick up the phone and
Afraid to speak.
why are you calling?
Yeah.
And it's like, need to talk to you.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah.
Again, it's that's how I guess WhatsApp developed, right? Is what's up,
Oh, I don't know.
the whole texting thing. But
I call it
they
just delayed gratification. I think a lot of people just are afraid to, if it doesn't come with an instant ROI, people are afraid to act. Almost in the frame of, I'm afraid to do something in the case I may succeed, which may put a lot of pressure on me, or in case I fail, and where FOMO happens.
Yep,
And people's fear of failure paralyzes people, and
absolutely.
that shows the true leaders in the world. And like, sorry to cut you off, but
No, no,
saying
no,
like with the
no. I
Simon
think
Sinek, he
that's
says that
yep,
leaders.
absolutely. You know, I think we both kind of like Simon Sinek a
Yeah.
lot and what he teaches and uh, how he thinks life should be
Hmm.
and how leaders should act and develop teams and following, right?
Actually, I do want to get this with you now that I know, because I didn't know this before. You have a degree in game theory.
Yes.
With game theory, I find it so fascinating. I know just the bare minimum of game theory,
Okay.
but from Simon Sinek, learning infinite game versus finite game, where what game do you really want to play? And it kind of it plays a game with the actual
Absolutely.
words.
Absolutely.
Do you want to live forever? Infinite game, playing like I want to live for a legacy and have a business that continue without me, or you want to play that finite game? I want to make $1 million, but then what happens next? If you could just
Absolutely.
dig deep on your thoughts.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Most of the people are like, I want to make $1 million,
Yeah,
and that's it,
yeah.
right? So, what after that? What
Hmm.
what happens to your life after you make $1 million, or what are you doing now to make that $1 million,
Right.
right? But why make that $1 million?
Yeah. And then we'll start with why.
That's where the question. That's the question, right?
Yeah.
Because people in life, they are like, hey, I want to make money. I want to travel the world. You know, want to have a big house and a big, you know, nice car and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But why?
Right.
Either you want to show off to others,
Mm-hmm.
self-satisfaction,
Right.
that, you know, this is what I want to achieve in life.
Yeah.
I want to show myself. I want to prove myself. Or can I live within my means and not go out of my means and make sure that whatever I'm doing, even if let's say it's their job, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people, you know, like, I mean, CEO of Google, you know, Sundar Pichai,
Okay.
right? He's probably the first, not the first Indian CEO, but he's probably the first Indian CEO of a really, really big company.
Yep.
Right? Who was appointed
Mm-hmm.
rather than, you know, self-proclaimed CEO.
Right.
Right? Because there are tons of self-proclaimed CEOs who are Indians and they have their own companies, which may be I don't know if they're $1 billion worth or $1 trillion worth.
I think it's a lot. Neil Patel, Naval Ravikant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Neil Patel, I don't know if his company's worth billions, though. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
But he
I think
manages.
that worth. Yeah.
I think he manages. Like I think in one of his videos, he said his company manages over $1 billion in ad spend or something like that.
I was watching another podcast called My First Million.
Uh-huh.
He self-proclaimed he spends about either $14,000 or $28,000 a month.
Yes. Yeah.
And I believe that. Like the way he breaks it down, but I think a lot of his money goes into his life insurance that he broke down, like at least 10,000.
Yeah. So usually, people who have life insurance,
Mm-hmm.
if they're CEOs, they
Leverage.
they buy life insurance as if let's say something happens to them,
Yeah.
it will become a replacement cost.
To their
So
family.
not to the family, but actually to the business as well. So
Yeah,
businesses
yeah.
actually buy life insurance
Mm-hmm.
on the CEOs and
Of
leaders.
course.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah,
It makes sense to me.
oh, absolutely. It's very common.
Yeah.
When I was actually getting my life insurance, they were like, "Hey, do you want your business to cover you
Mm-hmm.
for life insurance?" I said, "Look, I'm not that, you know, Sundar Pichai or, you know, Steve Jobs that I need to do that for myself yet. Hopefully one day,
Right.
but not yet. You know, I'm not to the level of such greatness that I can call myself an amazing CEO who's changing the world, you know, with the snap of a finger kind of thing."
I think it makes sense though. Now it's just like I think something just clicked in my head. That's why the military spends so much money on our service members, because the military is a business and it puts money on all of our heads as service members, and that's how the military keeps making money. It borrows against us, and for the chance that someone was lost, it pays for their families and whatnot.
I mean, there was somewhere that I was reading, it said that how many people who actually go into, you know, the initial boot camp, I don't know what it's exactly called.
Boot camp, basic training.
Basic training, right? So how many people go into the basic training and fail and leave?
I've seen a couple.
Very few.
Yeah.
So the people who actually go in there,
yeah,
they have actually really made their mind that this is what I want to do in life. This is something that I want to achieve.
Yeah.
Right. So they don't go in there for the purpose of, let me try this thing out. You know, let's see what happens. You know,
I did that.
I guess you succeeded, right?
Yeah.
Everything okay up there? All right.
Okay.
So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
what was the purpose, if you don't mind me asking? What was the purpose? Why did you go into the military?
I didn't have any other options. Not necessarily I didn't have any other options. I didn't have any other feasible options for me to grow. I felt like I was at a point in my life where I was going to community college, I was working at a restaurant,
Mhm.
and I just didn't feel like I had many roads to go to. Like for me, I think I just started. I wanted to become a personal trainer at like 18 years old, so like
Okay.
right out of high school. But no one wanted to listen to an 18-year-old
That's true.
just starting. So I needed to build credibility. So my first thought was, all right, let's try something new.
Yeah.
If I join the military, I have a twofold. I could possibly.
Go ahead, Ari.
Yeah.
Twofold. Go ahead.
Oh, um,
Twofold.
if I joined the military, I had a twofold. I could either go into the government because we live in the DMV,
Mhm.
work somewhere in DC,
Yep.
which I did eventually, work an admin job, or I have the credibility of like I could be a military personal trainer. Doesn't matter what age you are. Not that many people are in the military and could train what that could be, because the military is. I mean, even for me, it was the unknown. I was just going to a recruiting center. And I was like, all right, we have to run our IST, the initial strength test.
Okay.
So in the actual in the field, or once you're in a company inside the military,
Yeah.
you have the now I forgot. Uh, wow, I forgot already. It's
That's not acceptable.
there's two. Yeah, exactly. There's two. Um, now I forgot. It's a three letter initial. Wow.
There's always three-letter acronyms
For everything in the
for
military,
everything in the
government.
military. Yeah, it's like
PFT.
PFT.
No, I forgot the first letter. PFT. It's a something fitness test, performance fitness test.
Okay.
Annual performance PFT. Annual PFT in the Marine Corps.
Physical performance test, or something.
Possibly.
Maybe.
See, now I forgot.
Maybe I messed you up.
But it's for the Marine Corps. It's a 3 mile run, max set of pull-ups, and sit-ups.
Okay.
So crunches, and that's really your baseline. You had to get under, I believe it was a 30-minute 3 mile. Pull-ups max score was 20 at the time, and you needed at least for a male, I want to say at least 12, 12, 13.
Wow.
Full lockout elbow, chin over the bar, and then crunches was your arms in your elbow pits, and then your elbows had to touch your thighs coming up, and I think we just had to do 100.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I can do maybe 2.
Crunches?
No,
Yeah,
crunches
are
I can
easy,
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crunches are easy. Pull-ups was the hard part. I think joining the military, I could only do like 10. I think. Number one question I normally ask on my guests is, I'm very interested in the law of attraction.
Okay.
And I want to know who are the 5 closest people that you associate with, and
Okay.
how they affect you.
5 closest people.
Yeah.
Most of them are my family.
Understandable.
And the closest person outside of my family,
Mm-hmm.
and they probably this guy knows that I exist.
Okay.
I have spoken to him many times.
Okay. Never seen in person.
I have met him in person.
Okay.
And I ask him for advice.
Yeah.
And he replies back, and his name is Guy Kawasaki.
Okay.
And what really attracted me towards him
Yeah.
was the first time that I met him was at an Inc. conference, and he was promoting his book, Enchantment.
Okay.
And this guy lives, breathes, preaches, his book and his lifestyle and what he learns, right?
Right.
So, and he said, go, quickly go. He said, I want you to write down my email address.
Uh-huh.
And everybody just, started scrambling, writing down. And I was like, I wrote down his email address.
Yeah.
And he's like, I respond to all my emails in 24 hours.
Okay.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
This amazing guy
Right.
responds back in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I got home, I had a autographed book, and took a picture with him and stuff. This guy's amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
I'll tell you more about him later.
Okay.
But this guy, he responded back in 24 hours, and not a generic email saying that thanks for
reaching out.
not an assistant
Yeah.
kind of thing. He said, "Hey, this is Guy.
Yeah.
Thanks for your email. I don't remember, but pleasure meeting you at the conference. Glad to hear from you." And
Okay.
that's it. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this. So, I emailed him back saying, "Hey, I have a few questions. Would you mind answering them?"
Yeah.
And again, 24 hours later, I got an email back.
Yeah.
So he responds in 24 hours,
Okay.
which is very, very amazing.
Yeah.
And I shared the photo that I took with him, and so I'm sure he knows. And by the way, I still email him
To this day.
to this day.
Well, so now I'm not forgetting. I know Robert Kiyosaki did Rich Dad Poor Dad. Guy Kiyosaki.
Guy Kawasaki,
Kawasaki.
like the motorcycle.
Oh, he's
Guy
that creator.
Kawasaki. No.
Kawasaki?
Guy Kawasaki was the chief evangelist for Apple from 1981 to 1985, and then 1987 to 1991.
Okay.
Right when Steve Jobs was there and not
Transitioning.
there, transitions.
Ah.
Most of Steve Jobs transitions.
Okay.
And and his entire book, this Enchantment, came out when Facebook had just emerged.
Okay.
Twitter was there.
Beginning.
The
Social platforms.
beginning,
Social media
social media.
platforms.
Yeah, and he would talk about, people would ask him, "Oh, so what we should post on Facebook? What should we post on Twitter?" And he would kind of break that down, but he said, "Forget all that. What you're, it's about links or pictures or this and that. Think about enchantment.
Yeah.
It's about how you can engage and learn from other people
Yeah.
while you are giving them information.
Interesting.
That's all it is." And today I was going through TikTok, and this one guy, he's like, "Google SEO is dead."
Yeah.
And it's kind of dead because Google is all text-based, right?
Right.
So when you're on your computer, you will search on Google. But when you're on your phone, you might want to try searching now
Social
on
media.
TikTok. You might want to try searching on TikTok.
I just
This
saw that
guy-
video.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. So this guy searches on TikTok for 7 best restaurants in Las Vegas.
See, TikTok is crazy.
Yes, I know. It's really amazing. And that was the same time that you had texted me. I don't know if it bridged our searches or something.
Maybe. I know it was sometime today. You just telling the story. I was like, sounds very familiar. And we
That's
said to think
amazing.
at the same time.
That's amazing.
That was not planned at all.
Yeah, that is really amazing, though.
Wow.
So
Okay.
things have changed a lot
Yeah.
on social media. Things have died, but they're not dead. There are certain groups of people who are still enchanted,
Yeah.
to use Guy Kawasaki's word. They're still enchanted using certain devices, search engines, or social media platforms because they're used to it. They're comfortable with it.
Right.
Right? So an older person who, let's say, just got on Facebook. So a person who just got onto Facebook is going to be really enchanted with Facebook. They're not going to want to get on TikTok or something like that.
Yeah, stuck in their ways.
Exactly. So that's one of the biggest people in my life who enchants me, or I really look up to him.
Okay, I think that follows up to my leading last question.
Okay.
I really find it amazing the way, like, all the stories since we've met, how you network with people. Like, what is your biggest secret to networking with people? Like, is it like just by you going to a conference, you listening, or all the above?
So, there are very few people I follow, and I listen to them, and I do what I want to do, right?
Okay.
So networking is something that I wasn't too comfortable with that stuff. I didn't know that this is what networking is.
Yeah.
So about, I would say, 18 years ago, when I really started networking,
Right.
when I got into the business, and people would be like, oh, you need to go outside and network,
Yeah.
right? Because most of my business was referral based,
Right.
and people would approach me from BNI to, all kinds of different places,
Yeah.
and I did not have the money to spend,
Traveling.
well, one, traveling, two,
Conferences.
they had their membership fees, right,
Right.
to join them. And then when I saw that there's like a set of people sitting around the table, or they had a whole bunch of people just talking about stuff,
Yeah.
right, and they're in separate different industries,
Right.
and everybody gets up and just is like, hi, I am this and this is what I do, and I have specials on this.
Yeah.
I'm like, what,
Boring.
are you serious?
Yeah.
And so I would get up, and they were like, so who are you? And I did not know my identity at that time, right?
Right.
This is what I want to do. So when I actually started my brokerage, I was like, what does my brokerage really mean for me
Yeah.
and for others? So, and it took me a really long time to define what I do.
Yeah.
And I understood I actually change people's lives.
Interesting.
And I change them in the way that they live and work.
Okay.
So, you know, back to your question. What's your question?
What's your secret
To networking,
being
right?
successful at
So,
networking? Right?
so everybody's doing that 60-second pitch, and in my head, I'm trying to wrap up the thing that what do I do,
Yeah.
right? And at that moment, that's what came in my mind.
The
I
identity.
changed people's lives.
Okay.
And I got up and I said, hi, I am AJ Kirapal, and I change people's lives. And they're like, who are you? What? And they all wanted to talk to me.
Conviction.
Because it was just that one line
Yeah.
I said. And they're like, can you elaborate?
Yeah.
And I was like, I change people's lives by helping them with their residential and commercial situations. They're like, so you're a real estate agent?
Yeah.
I said, yes. You change people's lives.
Interesting.
And I thought that when I said that, I didn't even know that that's what I do, but
Yeah.
that's the only thing that could come in my mind,
Right.
that this is what I do. So, when you go to places and let's say they're like, you go first.
Yeah.
Like, I would like to give the opportunity for other people to tell us what they're more seasoned. They've been here before.
Okay.
So when I would go and to these big networking events, 100 people, right?
Yeah.
So you walk into the room, everybody's like, "Hey, I'm AJ,"
Yeah.
and they're like, "I'm," what do you do? And that's the first thing that they ask, right? So I would walk into a room and I would just stand there for a second, and I would see all these people just rushing around trying to pass business cards and
Right.
next. I flipped around. I was like, what? This is
Not
my style.
Yeah.
And since I was 7, I loved photography.
Okay.
I was like, man, I would like to just take pictures of these people.
Yeah.
So I would call wherever I'm going to network.
Yeah.
And like, hey, do you mind if I bring my camera, just take a few photos, with people, and yeah, sure, no problem.
They don't care, yeah.
Yeah, they don't care. They're like, great,
Yeah.
And so I would take pictures with people.
Yeah.
Like, give me a card, and then I would write down the image number next to their
Photo,
card,
yeah.
right? So now I have their name,
Contact.
and
photo.
their contact and photo. So I would take that, put it up on Facebook,
Yep.
find them on Facebook, tag them,
Yep.
but I would put them on my business page,
Yeah.
and then I would post it on my
Personal.
page,
Yeah.
and then tag every single person who came there, and also email them that this is where you find the photos.
Yeah.
Now, guess what?
You're connected. Network.
Oh, they all want to talk to me.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, these are amazing photos, and thank you so much. And then the host is contacting me again. They're like, oh, can you come again? I'm like, look, no, I got something else to do
Yeah.
at that time. But I would make it a thing that I would probably go to it once every 2 months or 3 months, you know?
Yeah.
So I would go, and so it kept happening more and more and more.
Right.
And then I started hosting lunch and learns.
Okay.
And I would get,
Spilled
I,
upon it.
I didn't host, well, I didn't actually talk in those lunch and learns. I would have other people talk.
Right.
So,
You'd be the host. You'd be a host.
So networking is not about, you talking.
Yeah.
You can host like how you do. You're hosting.
Right.
You're bringing so many people in together that they are talking and they are actually bringing value. So I would go to a whole bunch of different places and listen to people.
Yeah.
And then I would be like, hey, would you be interested in talking at my event? And they were like, sure, because they're trying to build their network base as well. So
interesting.
And I met amazing people.
Okay.
With that, and from all those things, that's how the Inc. conference came up, and they invited me to attend.
Yeah.
As a local leader.
Okay.
Kind of thing. So, and it was here in DC. So
Okay.
it was pretty amazing. That I think that's the way to network is that you listen to other people.
Yeah.
And see what they have to say about themselves, and then you can open up.
Right.
Because if if you think that you can be genuinely interested in talking to a person, I think you need to let them talk first,
right,
rather than talking first.
I agree. Like the biggest
leaders eat last.
Yeah. The biggest summary I have on that, like what I just learned from that, is that you have a high level of conviction in yourself and what you're doing in your business, and that helped you set yourself apart initially, and then your copy with what you're saying, like I change people's lives. That is a grand statement, and that allows people to even look at you on a higher level. And then by you thinking like a leader, and how Simon Sinek's coined the term "leaders eat last," you allow other people to speak at your events, giving them the praise instead of yourself.
Correct.
That is the true. I think that's the greatest tactic for networking success, and that you answered my question greatly.
Well, I tried my best.
That was great, and I think on that we'll end on that. Until next time, unless you have anything to plug, want to shout out brokerage, anything like that.
I'm a very shy person. If
Okay.
most people don't know this, but I'm very shy.
Yeah.
I don't like talking a lot, especially in front of cameras. I've kind of become used to it now,
Yeah.
being on the other side.
Right.
But when I look at a camera, I would start shaking.
Yeah.
This is about 8-9 years ago.
Okay.
I used to host events, and this was like fashion events.
Okay.
And for the first time, I wouldn't be on the microphone or anything like that. I would have MCs do it. I would
Right.
just be in the background setting up the show.
Right.
And so there was a point that, hey, this was like a big show that we were doing, that the MC is like, these guys got to come up, and they wanted me to talk.
Okay.
And I had about 15 different really large media companies like Washington Post and Fox and ABC and all these. I mean, talk about 20 cameras trained on you.
Yeah.
And for a second, I was like, what am I supposed to say? Because I wasn't prepared to talk.
Right.
This was not me. And so I got in front and I just closed my eyes for a moment and I put my head down, and everybody's just looking at me. I could tell everybody's eyes are at me, and they're like, "What's wrong?"
Okay.
And I looked up and I said, "You know what? I'm not used to this.
Okay.
I'm not used to being in front of a camera.
Right.
I'm used to be behind a camera." And I want to thank everyone who is actually behind the camera, because they get forgotten.
Right.
Because the host is the one that gets remembered. So I want to thank all the ones who are behind the camera, and now I just connect with every single person behind the camera and even behind them. And I, I didn't even know what I was doing,
Yeah.
but it just happened that
Yeah.
way. And I was like, man, I don't know where it's coming from,
Yeah.
but I guess, sometimes it's just one thing that I want to tell people is that whatever you do, just do it from your heart. Don't do it for the sense or a purpose that you want to get something.
Okay.
That's it.
Makes sense. Okay. And yeah, until next time. See you later.